everybody. Welcome to the weekly roundup with Nat Daddy here. We got a huge week of books here, about 6-inch pile worth of books here. I think the last count over 20 books, so let's not dilly-dally. Let's jump right into it. But before we can start all that, we'll start by thanking off some of the people that we work with in this group to help make it all possible. First off, let's thank the guys at 204 Comics. I'm sure by now you guys, if you are familiar with this channel, you're familiar with 204 Comics. That's where we go to get all our local books in the area. Bobby and Ashley. Even this week here, we were lucky enough to have Hollywood Bob do the preview video with us. So check that out if you haven't already. Like I said, 204 Comics, local comic book store in Winnipeg. Great bookstore, and that's what we also deal with when we do our pull list for our FOCs and that. So we'll be working on that again a little later on today as well. Also, we got Primo's Wrestling out of Winnipeg. Great group here. We love working with them. The next big show is coming up next week, a week today, Friday the 21st at the Winnipeg Chinese Cultural Center. Hope to see you there in person if we can. If not, you can check us live out a couple different ways. Nat Daddy page here, we stream it live on Facebook. So if you're watching this, you can watch it there. And also, Primo's Wrestling is live on TikTok as well. Again, we work so much with these groups that now the Nat Daddy website does sell some wrestling merch from these guys. We got Mustachios, got some stuff coming up soon. We got Player One. We have Moses Luke, the German Juggernaut, and Toxic Tyler James there. Both their merch is up there, the Toxic Juggernauts. Awesome stuff there. Speaking of those guys, I don't know, but if you guys were watching AEW on Wednesday night there was actually some shout outs to the local groups here, the Primo guys. Mustachio's still missing. He's been missing ever since that Red River X show just before Canada Day, injured and missing. And there was somebody in the crowd there even had a sign up saying, "Where is Mustachio?" So hopefully we can find Mustachio soon. I heard a rumor he was living down by the river, but I went and looked around there and I didn't see anything. But there was some signs of people being there, but I didn't want to stick around and see. But didn't see Mustachio. Yeah, big shout out there to Primos. They're wrestling there. Big sign next to Don Callis there. And then also, too, there was someone had a Tyler James Sucks sign in the crowd there, too. So I don't know about that, but they're allowed to have their opinion. And also filmed that night. But you can watch it tonight on AEW Rampage. We have Primo's superstar Mentalo taking on Takeshita. So that should be awesome there too. Takeshita is going to be with the Blackpool Combat Club for the War Games coming up next week. So I'm sure that'll be a great match there. So do check that out tonight if you haven't seen it live online already. The Mentalo versus Takeshita match on AEW Rampage tonight. All right. What else is there? We got the Things Are Getting Dicey show that we're still part of as well on Mondays. It's a D&D adventure show where me and a few other people are on there, and we broadcast the silliness. And I must say the last few episodes have been some of the best ever, and they've been very fun and silly as well. So come pop in if you like that. All right, let's jump into some books. Got a ton of books this week, ton of raw books, and we got a few of the I got a few digital ones in that this week, so we'll start off with those first. But before we even jump into those, might as well show off some of our stuff. We have our exclusives. We got the Nat Daddy exclusives up here. Feel free again to pop onto that webpage of ours. I've just updated all the website stuff, so like I said, it does have all these exclusives. It has the wrestling merchandise, and later on today and this weekend, there will be a ton of new slabs put on there as well. So do check it out. Okay, now we can get into some real comic books. First off, let's check out the covers of the week. This week, the second print of Void Rivals came out. A lot of people were kind of missed the boat on the first issue of this when it came out a couple weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago now. It was kind of the relaunching of the G.I. Joes and Transformers. Now they're going to be the published through IEW, through Image, through the Skyburn. which is the Kirkman line. So again, this is the second print, has Jetfire on the cover there for cover A. He shows up halfway through the book there, and nobody really knew about it until the book hit the shelves, maybe just a little bit before. So again, do your previews in your FOCs, and maybe you can get on this stuff early. B cover there, I think is worthy of being a cover a week because of the nostalgia value alone. That is the old I don't know what they were called, gold covered, gold key books or like that when we were kids, and that would be Grover on the cover there, and it was a Sesame Street book there when we were kids. So now that I've said that, I'm sure a lot of you probably recognize it in that. So I thought that was pretty awesome. So kudos for that kind of deep cut homage there. Okay, so let's jump in to what I read digitally this week. And like I said, there's a lot, so do bear with me. First off, we have the one-shot Fallen Friend, The Death of Miss Marvel. This is what spins out of the ASM storyline there where Ms. Marvel was killed. So this is a one-shot. There's a few stories in here, a few different takes of people and their reaction. Some are at the funeral, some are just kind of dealing with the loss of her in that, but it was all right. I enjoyed it. Next, we have Gargoyles, Dark Ages from Dynamite. This is, I believe, a 4-issue limited series that is kind of like the prequel origins of Gargoyles. It shows the time when the Gargoyles and humans actually work together. So it takes about 1,000 years to go in the past. So before the Gargoyles got frozen or turned into stone, and then how we know them reappear in New York 1,000 years later. So good book so far. From Dark Horse Comics, we have The Lonesome Hunters, and this is the spin-off book. It's called The Wolf Child, and this is the Lonesome Hunters are two kind of monster hunters. One's an old man, one's a younger woman, and they kind of have some supernatural weapons and connections in that. And as they're touring the country right now looking for, I guess, some monsters or something, they come across this wolf monster and wolf child in the forest. So kind of neat story here. What really stands out about this book is the artwork here. It kind of has that painted watercolor feel to it, which I'm a huge fan of. So I did enjoy the Lonesome Hunters here. Also, another neat thing here, Tyler Crook, the creator, does everything in this book, the lettering, coloring, and the writing, and the art. From Dark Horse Comics, we have Hanya, The Mummy's Curse. This is a neat book here for anyone who does like Egyptian stuff. This takes place back in the Egyptian times. This young Egyptian woman there sees the kind of downfall of this Egyptian dynasty, and she's involved with it, and there kind of has some supernatural abilities to it. Maybe she has some powers, and there's the kind of monsters involved in that too. So think Hellboy-ish type stuff in ancient Egypt. From DC, one of the few comics that's actually going on in DC with the regular continuous storyline. Most of the stuff has been kind of suspended for a couple of months because of that Night Terror stuff. So this is from part of that Donna DC line. That's all the new characters and stuff they've starting up. And this is Spirit World #3. We covered the first 2 issues of it here, and I thought we would cover the third one again, because this is a really good series so far. I've enjoyed these new characters that they did, this one and that City Boy character. This woman here is this Asian person who is magical. She kind of deals with the spirit world. She makes these weapons out of origami paper in that. And in this book here, her and Constantine, or she said they and Constantine are trying to rescue Batgirl from kind of like the netherworld that they got sucked into last time. So interesting book so far. Like I said, I do like these new characters. They're a little different and really creative. I like that. It's cool to see. From World's Finest, Teen Titans, we have a limited series, kind of a modern retelling of when the Teen Titans were first being formed in that. This kind of is a spin-off of the World's Finest, Batman and Superman, that just recently ended as well. So again, written by Mark Waid. So good storytelling, and also I quite enjoyed the artwork in here too. So if anyone is a Teen Titans fan, especially classic Teen Titans and origin story Teen Titans stuff, that's definitely right up your alley. From Marvel, they have for the next couple of months now, or maybe the next few weeks in a row, they have a few What If Dark stories coming out. So this is What If Dark, and it's Loki. This is the takes place in the storyline of when Ragnarok's going on in Asgard, but instead of Thor being the hero, we have Loki being the hero. So it turns out bad for everybody. Great story. You do have Simonson actually writing it, so it's the original person who wrote those stories, which are classics. And the art is not the original artist that did do them, I don't believe, but is very similar. So I quite enjoyed this too. There was so many books this week, people. It was unreal. That's why this video is a little late. Again, I'm grouping these three all together. These are some of the Night Terror stuff. So you got the main title there, Night Terrors. We had the First Blood part last week, which is kind of like a prequel, kind of introduced some of those people. What's going on with Night Terrors? Like I said, for the next 2 months, this is going to encompass all of DC. There's this new villain, Insomnia, who has managed to set the whole world asleep, including all the heroes and villains. And while they're asleep, he's going through all their nightmares and that, creating nightmares and that, looking for the Nightmare Stone to help control or let him come out into the real world and control the world type of thing. So I didn't think too much of this as when it was being kind of solicited. Just figured it was another kind of DC, much like Marvel, their summer crossover event and that. But I'm really enjoying these so far. Normally, I don't read a lot of the tie-ins because they don't really tie in too much. I don't have anything really to add to the story. And some of these are much like that, but they're very enjoyable as well. So I've been reading almost every one so far. So like I said, Night Terrors itself is the main title. The Flash and Green Lantern are both kind of they both have two-issue limited series that tie into this, much like the ones last week. The Flash and Green Lantern are kind of neat. They're just kind of stories of what perverse nightmares for these characters. These ones themselves were they don't really have anything that really add to the main story or anything, or introduce any new characters, but still very enjoyable as well. The books I do have on hand, the physical copies, which I will review, they do introduce some new characters. So that's why I wanted to do those ones as well. Because much like a lot of you who collect here or watch the show, I do collect in like first appearances and that as well too. So let me start off with those since I do have them all here together. All right. The first one we have here is Night Terrors Robin. Great story here so far. We have Tim Drake, Robin, and Jason Todd, the Red Hood here. They have a story here where they're being chased by monstrous versions of different Robins and that. They're called the Dark Robins. I like this one so far too. Like I said, it doesn't really have too much to do with the main story, besides the fact that we have these two people who have fallen asleep and now are struggling with their nightmares and that. But like I said, it does introduce the what they call the Dark Robins. So kind of neat. Great artwork, super creepy, and yeah, I just really enjoyed these all so far. What's next? We have Night Terrors Shazam. This one's pretty cool. It focuses on Mary Marvel. She ends up falling asleep after a busy day of dealing as Mary Marvel and as the big sister Mary, and just as her normal life as well. So she ends up falling asleep. Her nightmare is that she ends up failing everybody, and Billy, who is Shazam, doesn't end up helping her. He ends up becoming like an evil version of Shazam, and that's what they introduce in here too. So another great story like that too. They're really pushing Mary Marvel a lot, which is cool nowadays. So I enjoy that. And again, too, some nice artwork in here as well. So good if you're a Shazam or a Marvel Family fan. And like I said, they do introduce a new character in there. It's called Teth Shazam, which is kind of like a nightmare version. Everything's a nightmare version. All right. Next from the Knights of Terror line, Knight Terrors line is Zatanna. This one here is Zatanna and Robot Man from Doom Patrol, actually. So Zatanna is one of the few people in the world that hasn't fallen asleep. She was able to do a magical spell to keep herself awake when everybody else did fall asleep. And Robot Man is a robot, so obviously he doesn't fall asleep. So Zatanna is under attack from some of these main villains, monsters that are in after all the heroes. She's protecting them in that, and she summons a champion to help her out, and it ends up just being Robot Man. So her and Robot Man are again against all these villains, trying to save the Justice League in that, and it doesn't go well because they're outnumbered. And towards the end of this issue, Robot Man actually does get possessed or infiltrated or tainted by these evil nightmare versions, and he becomes, like I said, a nightmare version of which I believe is called the Rustbringer. So. All right. Sorry, I had to deal with Napoleon there. All right, last on the DC ones here. This one is not part of the Night Terrors one. It's just a limited issue series going on right now. Unstoppable Doom Patrol number 4. They introduced a new character in here called Meta Woman, and that's her on the cover here. It is she is a psychoanalyst for the Doom Patrol, and what she does is she's able to I guess be like a medium for these higher beings from the 5th dimension, and they all kind of like morph out of her head in that. So it's kind of neat there. It's neat how she uses these higher intelligences to be the psychoanalyst or the psychiatrist for the Doom Patrol. So neat character, and if you're not reading Doom Patrol stuff, you should definitely check it out. It's pretty good. All right. Now let's jump into some of our many, many, many raw indies. From Tokyo Pop, we have this one here called Ghosts of Kiev, and this is a true story about some of the Russian invasion that's going on over right now in Kiev. And this is a Ukrainian dog fighter, airplane fighter, and it's just kind of the story of what's going on during the first 3 hours of this this invasion. So great realistic art in here, black and white, and it's just neat because I didn't know what this was until I started looking at it because it was the cover that attracted me. Like I said, if you're a fan of war comics or like Top Gun and that, this is definitely the book for you. And again, too, it's a true story. It's during the first 30 hours of the Russian invasion, he got 6 air victories in the sky over the capital. So this is a true story. This is when, inspired by the events of February 2022, when the skies over Kiev were heroically defended by Ukrainian pilots. So it's kind of neat. All right. We have here from London Night Studios, we have Razor's Edge Anthology, and we have 3 stories in here, I believe it is, all from the same artist, written by Dave Kopecki, and it is Morbid Angel and Razor. You got Lethal Strike and Poison, and these are all women, new characters that this company's going to be putting out. Black and white here, stuff, really good art, quite nicely done. introducing some new characters in that. One of these characters is an assassin that's going to be working with a dude that seems to be kind of like a Witcher, type Conan person. Then you have this other person called Lethal Strike over here. She is a super assassin and master of disguise. Does anything to get the job done. Even have sex with other people in that. And then you have this demon hunter type of person, kind of like Buffy the Vampires there, and her name is Poison. So again, 3 kind of cool anthology stories here of these new characters in that. Nothing new story-wise, formula-wise, but if you're a fan of kind of that bad girl art type of stuff, definitely one for you. I'm not sure if these are first appearances or not, but I would think they are. So, Razor's Edge anthology. All right, another really awesome book from Blood Moon Comics. We have Sacred Bullets. This is an awesome book here. You have a priest, Pedro Armanas. He leads a personal crusade against the drug dealers who poison his neighborhood, while the police want him for the death of a corrupt vicar who worked with those drug dealers. A couple of detectives and the sordid countenance of drugs will face along his path of blessed bullets. A battle where everyone will have to decide what they're willing to sacrifice to go to hell. So this banished priest that everyone's looking for, the church and the cops, he becomes like the Punisher now, and he goes after all these drug dealers and that. So and also the corrupt people in the church as well too. So great start so far. I quite enjoyed it. Again, black and white art, very, very cool. Dark, has sometimes a lot of charcoalness and that, some scratchy lines, but a really great story. Like I said, I quite enjoyed this one a lot. You have this kind of disgraced priest that's going after the people who have destroyed his neighborhood with the drugs, and like I said, the cops are after him because he has killed the vicar that ran his church, because he was also tied into the drugs. So great start so far. From Ahoy Comics, we have Con and On. This is a fun story of some adventures of these 2 people visiting and attending a Comic-Con. So we have some kind of fun stuff here. Meetings, some stories of them meeting some talents, just some just some random episodes in that. I kind of like this one too. It almost has a feel of Pulp Fiction, because you got multiple different stories interweaving in that too. But and again, I really like the artwork too. So these Ahoy Comics really have nice artwork. So this one here is going to be called Con and On. Neat checkout, light reading. A lot of these books that we review are very dark and intense and that. In the sense of a nice light fun one. Kind of a palate cleanser. All right, next. From Boom Studios, this is definitely a darker book here. It's Sirens of the City. This is the story of a teenage runaway, and that's her there. She's 16 years old, and she's kind of like this punky teenage runaway. It's in the 80s? I think it's around in the 80s, maybe. Yeah, it's definitely in the 80s. Takes place in the early 80s and that. And there seems to be some kind of supernatural magic stuff going on as well too. She turns out to be a siren, and she doesn't know that. So when she can't control power. So when she's endangered or threatened and stuff like that, she accidentally uses her powers, which basically, if she says something, people are forced to do it in that. So now there's this other gang that is out there looking for her because they want her because she is of that. And like I said, she is pregnant with one of this gang's members' kids. So interesting book so far. Also cool if you like supernatural stuff, like jinns and sirens and stuff like that. And also if you're a fan of like the 80s and timepieces, especially New York 80s. So cool book. Again, this one is in black and white as well too. But again, each page is has accents on it too. So a lot of blues, um, purples, reds when needed, and that. So it's a really cool book. From Boom Studios, Sirens of the City. From IDW Studios, we have The Hunger and the Dusk. This is a cool book here, like I was talking for all the D&D stuff there. So anybody who's a fan of D&D, this is right up your alley. This is a story of orcs and humans have to kind of mend their, thousands of years old of hostilities and lifelong enemies towards each other, and work together towards a more greater foe that is wiping out everybody. So yeah, we got a story of a tribe of humans, a small village, and that trying to join forces with a local group or tribe of orcs who they've constantly been at odds with and at war with for a long time. So, but again, they're kind of have to join forces for this greater common enemy that's just killing everything. I believe they're called the Scourge. So again, lots of fun stuff here. Some really great art. I quite enjoyed it. So if anybody is a D&D fan or a fantasy fan in that, this is for you. Lots of great coloring in here as well too. And some good action. The Hunger and the Dusk from IDW. Next, we have from Dark Horse Comics, we have Savage Squad #1. It's the future, and Earth is overrun a little bit by monsters and that, and they send in kill squads and hit squads all the time to deal with their problems. And in this group here, we have the Savage Squad 6, and it's got all female group of assassins and specialists here to take on this mission here. And this mission here is it's in the northern Ukraine, and like I said, these monsters and that are taking out everything and anything that comes in the area. So this girl team has been launched into the area by a helicopter, and they drop in, and now they're set to deal with these whatever's going on down there, these monsters and that. So again, some supernaturalness. Also, again, they're being dropped basically into right where Chernobyl is, so they're dealing with that as well too. And like I said, these monsters start showing up, and they're having to kill them. So. And nothing super original story-wise, but again, some cool artwork in that, and it's kind of neat, no? That's where it leaves off. It's kind of nuclear monster mashups that these female crazy assassins are going to have to deal with. Kind of a kill crew. Okay, what do we got now? From Scout Comics, we have Emmett's story from Stabby Bunny. This is kind of I won't say it's a prequel on that, but it's a spin-off from the Stabby Bunny universe. Stabby Bunny is this plush, fuzzy little doll rabbit that is evil, and they're not evil per se, but possessed and has like serial killer tendencies. So this story here takes part and explains the history of these two guys on the cover there. It's a husband, a married couple over these two, and they are associated with the Stabby Buddy group. And the older looking dude here gets beat up in a hate crime, and the other guy next to him, his husband, ends up being possessed by like a vengeful jinn type of thing, who feeds on his sadness and tricks him to take revenge on the people who did this and that, and then the Stabby Bunny group can't stop them and that. So great story so far. Again, if you like kind of like that American Gods type story thing, this is definitely cool for you. So, and again, great artwork in here. So really like this one a lot. So like I said, this guy becomes like this demonic version of himself and this monster to go around to kill people. So good book. You don't have to know a lot of the Stabby Bunny universe stuff to know that, because actually the Stabby Bunny's barely in there. All right, got a story, anthology, kind of funny little stories here about Svengoolie. Svengoolie is much like Elvira, so a cheesy horror movie host. And in this story here, he has his arch nemesis, the man who wanted to be on his show, is an evil scientist, and Svengoolie got the job instead. He decides to take his revenge out by sending a robot Svenbot of Svengoolie back through time to eliminate all the show's sidekicks. So silly fun. If you're a fan of Svengoolie in that, this is a cool book. This is from the Frank Miller Presents line. Silly fun. Much like in the Elvira vein. This is a really neat book. Comes in a little bit different size than that. A little bit different kind of coloring. This is from Strangers Comics. This is Delphinium Part 1. And this is Astronaut Briar Phlox has fallen onto the planet Delphinium. Alone on this new alien terrain, he must explore and survive while he waits for his peers to join him. What will he find on this uncharted planet? So what it is the human civilization has found planets that are possibly inhabitable. So the satellite station has been monitoring this one planet for about 6 months or so up in a satellite station, and one of them ends up having to go outside, do some repairs, and ends up being lost on the planet. So the other ones cannot get down to him in that. So for about 6 weeks or so, he has to make his own on the planet until they are able to get down there and rescue him. So this book's really neat. This planet is all done in purples and white blues in that, so it's really, really colorful. Kind of has this, definitely this old school underground type of art to it, so I kind of enjoyed that as well too. And like I said, it's just a neat book of kind of like, I don't know, Robinson Crusoe or The Martian type of thing, of this guy landing on a alien planet and having to survive for a few weeks. And maybe if forever, depending if his crewmates can actually get down there. So it is like I said, a very fantasy and weird alien terrain. But again, I just really love the artwork and the color in here. So again, nothing too wild and crazy new story-wise in that, but just a really neat book in general. And that's what you want out of a book. All right. Slowly whittling down this pile. We got about 3 or 4 books left, so we're actually making pretty good time here. From Invader Comics, we have Animals, and this one is kind of a neat one as well too. Definitely a horror book here. Nice strong cardstock cover. Excellent artwork in here. We got a lot of scratchy charcoal lines, a lot of bold, bright blood colors when needed. Definitely spooky, sets the tone perfectly for this book. Very, very dark, because like I said, the iron kind of this dark, haunted, infected forest. Super cool book. What it is this guy's out deer hunting, and he's brought back this other friend to him where an accident has happened, and he's telling him how when he was out there earlier with this other guy, they shot this deer and they killed it. And after they came up to approach this deer, even after shooting it multiple times, this deer kind of rose back up and kicked the one guy to death, and then he shot it again and brought it back. So it seems like these animals now everywhere, they're coming back from the dead and are attacking people and that. So again, super horrific in that. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It seems to be spreading around to all these animals in here, kind of like a 12 Monkeys type of thing. And yeah, it's just great horror. Like I said, the invasion has already begun. So this won't we won't see the next issue of this until early 2024. But again, it's kind of super graphic horror of all these wildlife and also dead wildlife coming back and just wiping out and attacking everybody. So pretty enjoyable book. Again, nothing super original in that, but done in a great, enjoyable way with some amazing artwork. Next. Oops. We got Prometheus in Chains from Red 5 Comics. This one here, an easiest way to describe it is like a modern telling and a very, very creepy modern telling of Frankenstein. And instead of Frankenstein creating a monster, his wife has terminal cancer and she dies from cancer, and he's intent on, he's missing her and he's so heartbroken. He's intent on bringing her back from the dead. So again, super not original story, done a million times in that, even done this way in that before, but it does have some really awesome artwork done in here. So again, I quite like it as well too. You can kind of see him slowly descend into madness from his depression and his obsession to bring her back because yeah, just because he misses her so much and he couldn't save her while she was alive from the cancer and that. So another great kind of horror book. So Prometheus in Chains from Red 5. From Scout Comics, we have Thanks, Romina. This one here is kind of a lighter palette cleanser, especially reading out these here. This is kind of makes me think of like Ally McBeal type of thing. For anybody who remembers Ally McBeal, you have this woman here, Romina. She's taken up a job, kind of her first, real big career job, and it's in the publishing industry. Actually, it's in like the production industry, like the making of between the TV shows and before they hit the TV stations and that. So it's just her trying to fit into the complex office life world. Fun, good artwork, some interesting characters in that, and like I said, just kind of light comedy, world fun, realistic. So if you like that kind of stuff, this one's definitely for you. Thanks, Romina. I actually enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would. Like I said, when I was reading so many different books here, it was nice to give just something nice and light. This one I was looking forward to a lot from Image Comics, or sorry, the Top Cow imprint. We have Antarctica. Neat book here about a young girl who remembers her whole life her dad always going away to this Antarctic research base and coming back, I guess, after his time there. So he would come and go, and then after one time he didn't come back. So she kind of had a shitty life after that. She ended up becoming homeless, and she ends up due to the kindness of a local business stranger, he kind of helps her out a little bit, and she's able to take some classes and ends up becoming an engineer of her own, just like her dad. And she ends up getting a job at the same project where he works at, and she ends up going down there to not only to get a job to work there, but the main reason is to go down there and try to investigate what happened to her dad. And as she gets there, she realizes and stumbles upon a bunch of kind of conspiracy stuff. So is it supernatural? Is it something different than that? We're not sure yet, but definitely something is not the norm there, and she has stumbled upon it. And who knows, maybe her dad is even still alive. Definitely we'll find out. Some pretty neat artwork in here as well. Very, very realistic. Lots of fine lines in that. Pretty cool book so far. Antarctica, Top Cow Image. And lastly, our I think my book of the week is kind of a neat book. Very much looking forward to this book. It's one of my favorite writers on the show here. We got from Image as well. We got Jeff Lemire's Fish Flies. This is a fun book and neat book, and also just a little weird book. Bit of a thicker book too, so that's kind of cool. We have this character on the cover here, little girl or little boy. I'm not too sure, but I think it's a little girl. Always has a runny nose. Has a shitty home life in that. And this town always once a year gets kind of overrun by fish flies. Not sure any of you out there who are familiar with fish flies. I definitely am. I grew up here, and once when we would go to the cottage as kids in the summer, they would just be infested with fish flies, and they are horrible, gross little bugs. Harmless. All they do is eat mosquitoes and that. They only live like a day or so, and they just kind of cover everything. So for whatever reason, this year this town is totally infested with them, and there's a bank robber, a criminal out there, a guy who ends up killing a few people in town, including a kid. And it seems like these fish flies attack him and infest him in that. And this little girl finds him in the barn, in her family barn where he's hiding. And he's kind of just, resting in there because he's, like I said, he's hiding out from the cops. He's been injured, and he's also been, like, hurt and attacked by these bugs. And then towards the end of the story, he ends up turning into one of these giant bugs and that. So kind of a neat end there. And it's not the end of the book per se, but just the end of this chapter. So now this little girl is gonna, I guess, have him as a friend or a pet. So it's kind of weird. This serial killer giant fish fly and that. So neat book here. Like I said, Jeff Lemire always does kind of some weird stories in that. And it is just really cool. It definitely has that Jeff Lemire feel to it as well too. Art-wise, I know it's not him doing it, but it definitely has that feel to it art-wise of Lemire. So definitely pick that book up if you can. Jeff Lemire, Fish Flies. All right, everybody, thanks for sticking around. Like I said, that was a big one. Maybe later on today we'll have an FOC video. We will see in that. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Hopefully on the show here, or hopefully on the Things Are Getting Dicey on Monday night, or hopefully just at the wrestling next Friday as well. So peace out.